All right, fantastic. So it looks like people are coming on in. We'll appreciate you being here. So let's get it started. My name is Austin. I'm here with YouAttest. Today we're going to be talking about access requests and your audit. We're very lucky to be joined with our special guest speaker, Craig Guinasso. Craig has been the VP and Chief Information Security Officer at SciAps. He's also been on a few of our webinars in the past, so if he sounds familiar, it's because he is. We have him on because he is an expert in auditing, access reviews, access requests, and so much more. So thank you so much for being here. A couple of the other voices you're going to hear, Garrett Grajek, CEO of YouAttest, as well as Sher Azam. He is our product manager at YouAttest. Going into the agenda, already covered introductions. The next thing we're going to hear will be the access requests and approvals. Basically, what are they? Why are they important? Next, we're going to go into where are these actually showing up in the regulatory compliance standards? Why is this important? And then followed by that, we will have the actual YouAttest version of how we are handling these access requests and access reviews. So that will be a quick overview by Garrett, a quick overview by Sher as well, and then hold on to your questions because we will have a live demo and a Q&A session at the very end. So please feel free to chat those in as we go along. But with that being said, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Craig. I'll pass it off to you to get started.
Thanks, Austin. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. Again, I'm Craig Guinasso. I'm the Vice President and Chief Security Officer at SciAps. And I'm really going to start off by describing really what access requests are. And for those technical folks that are on the call, this is pretty basic, right? It's account formation 101, but there's a lot of people that I interact with in the business day in and day out that don't even really know what access requests are and how that process works. But at a real high level, it's step one in getting a user or a system access to something that they otherwise don't have. They don't have access to. It's also really the first step in implementing an access management process or protocol at an organization. This usually comes from a service desk via some kind of request or from a change, maybe in a transition, someone's moving from one role to another. It can go from having no access at all to access or additional access, maybe from, say, a regular user to an admin, or for that matter, vice versa. And this access management process should really define who can request this access. For example, is it a full-time employee only, a contractor, a consultant? I guess I've seen a case where some systems can do this. And really, who needs to approve the type of access? Does that have to also be the employee's manager, the business owner, or maybe an executive like a VP that oversees a specific department? It should also include what information is required and how the request will go through the system. Next slide. So I've seen this done many different ways, and most companies have a well-established process or workflow for requesting and granting this access. I've seen many tools do this. Things like ServiceNow, Jira, Zendesk come to mind. I've been at companies where we've had our own home-brewed system that essentially did the same thing. And oftentimes they start off just being what I would call like the system of record, the system of recording that just generate tickets. They don't have any serious workflows in them like ServiceNow does, but there's a variety of ways of doing this. They all seem to work really well for granting access and revoking access at a record level. So what I mean by this is I don't mean that they can actually integrate and actually go out and create the account and disable it, although I've seen that also. But they leave a lot to be desired for the ongoing maintenance and auditing of those same systems. I'd say even fewer organizations have a well-defined process for this ongoing auditing and managing and monitoring, or what we call the care and feeding or the ratifying of this system access. And this ratification can be critical for companies that are in a regulated environment, such as healthcare, and like for us, a business associate. Next slide. And where this becomes really, really critical is for companies, especially companies like that are in the healthcare environment, that are SOX regulated, that deal with finance like PCI, that are either in the process of getting certified by some third-party organization or are currently certified by some third-party organization. Now, I've listed probably the 4 most common frameworks: HITRUST, which is very specific to healthcare, ISO. They all have something that calls for the shall be regularly reviewed by management via some formal documented process. And in the past, when I've gone through our HIPAA assessments, our HITRUST assessment and certification, recertification, as well as our ISO certification, we've had tickets that are generated in ServiceNow, for example. I get an alert that says, "Oh, it's time to review the domain admins," just as an example. But when we go through the audit process, we generate these tickets and we show them that we have this, and they've looked at this and said, "Okay, that's great, but show me that you've actually done the work." All this is a calendar reminder, like you've got a dentist appointment, and that's a little bit more difficult to do. Next slide. So the show me the proof slide, which is, again, I think the most difficult part of the organization to comply with. And, show me where this proof is. What does it look like? I ended up reaching out to YouAttest and said, "Look, here's the problem we're trying to solve. I've got ServiceNow or I've got Jira. I've got these alerts that are set up that says on an annual basis, I'm reviewing the domain admins, or I'm reviewing the people that have access to our sensitive SOX controlled systems. And we actually do the review, but other than this ticket, I have no other proof that we're actually doing this, because it's very difficult to show that we've got all kinds of spreadsheets printed out and that we pass them around, and we eventually close the ticket. But how do I actually prove that we've actually done this work and that it's gone to not only the appropriate managers of these employees or contractors, but the business owners? Because oftentimes the business owners are the ones that have a say in it also. So that's how we ended up finding and utilizing YouAttest to actually prove that we're doing this review. Next slide. And with that, I'll hand it off to Cher.
Thank you so much, Craig. Really appreciate your time. And you gave a really good setup for what Cher's going to go into, not only talking about the access request, but going into the proof of it and showing why that matters and how YouAttest captures that. So with that being said, Cher, I'll pass it off over to you.
All right. Thank you, Garrett. Austin. Okay, so basically, this is the latest feature that we have built within YouAttest, which would allow the users to request for access and gain the approval for resources within Okta, and that is a group or an application. So it's a simple process that the user can go in, enables the access request feature, and I'll go through that in more detail in a while. Once that is done, the access request can be sent for approval. Then that is going to be in that state until it is either approved or rejected. The reviewers approves and rejects the requests. And once it is done, the changes are then enacted in the Okta tenant. And once that is done, a report detailing what exactly has happened, who exactly has made the request, who has been granted the request, who has been approving the request, is there in a report format detailing everything that happens. Next slide. Okay, so this is the settings screen where the user can define the workflow rules and the resources, which are either groups or applications. Basically, the main feature over here is the enabling of just-in-time provisioning, which would allow the users associated with an Okta tenant that is paired with the YouAttest tenant to get the access and also request for approval for any application or group, for any individual or for themselves. So basically, this just-in-time provisioning would allow them to get inside YouAttest without creating an account. No user ID and password. They can get inside YouAttest through this feature. And the next two features are the workflow rules and the resource management, and we'll go through those in detail. Next slide, please. Okay, so the workflow rules are the rules which are defined as to who exactly is going to be approving the request once the request has been made. So that can be either a business owner, a resource owner, a user of an Okta tenant, or a full group from Okta. So this can be defined. There is an and or operator depending upon if you want both of these entities to approve or reject, or just one can do this and the access can be granted. So that's there. Once this is done, the changes are then implemented in Okta, and a final report can be emailed to one individual or a number of individuals. So this would be a comma separated sheet that can be sent out to a number of individuals detailing what exactly has happened in a specific workflow. Also, there is a reminder email for approvers. For instance, if the business owner has given the approval for some access request, the resource owner is still in pending state, so he will get a reminder of emails that he has to either approve or reject to some access requests which are pending on his side. And that's how the workflow would be created. And Austin will give you a live demo in a while for how to create a workflow within YouAttest. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is adding a resource owner to either a group of application, just one application, or group within Okta. So they can be selected, and you can either select one or multiple application and have a resource owner associated with that application, and also then define the approval workflow that we just shown you how it is being created, so that once a request is generated for a resource, then we know the resource owner associated with that application and also the approval workflow. So this is where the application resources will be defined. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is for the approver. So this is the screen that they would see detailing who has requested for a resource, what exactly is the resource, requested by whom, and requested for, the dates, and also some notes if there are any. And also their reviewers can see as to who exactly has already approved or rejected a request. And then the person who is being assigned to review or reject the access request can give his comments, approve or reject to the access request which is being made. So this overall sums up the access request that we have built within YouAttest now. And we are looking to have an integration done with some third-party entities, like for instance Jira or ServiceNow, to get this integrated with some third-party services as well, which is a request that we are getting, but that is something that we are currently looking into. So that's about it from my end on the access request. Thank you.
Great. Can you hear me, Austin? How's my audio?
I can hear you loud and clear. Sounding good.
Let's take it away. Let's talk IGA, identity governance. And it sounds like, well, Garrett, how far back do you want to take us? We're going to talk about the invention of computers? No, what I'm talking about is identity governance. And why that's relevant is lots of people don't understand what we're doing or why we're doing it, but Craig really nailed it in his final slide. When they had the old picture up there, why are we doing this? Show us what you've done. It's not enough to do. It's not enough for auditors. It's not enough for compliance. It's not enough for your records just to take an action. You have to show what you've done and why you've done it. You have to document the process. And that's not trivial. And that's what takes all the time in the audit that I've learned. It takes all the time to go improve what you did 4 months ago at 6:00 p.m. on a Sunday night. Where's my email trail? Where is the post? Where is that? That's what we're here to solve. And it comes in 3 steps. It comes in first, the access request, which Cher basically stepped us through. Then Austin's going to show the demo. And then you're going to call us and we'll show you a demo in your environment as well. Okay. But next, listen what comes up next. Okay. Event triggers. Okay. Event triggers. What is that? Well, that's the original permissions change. That could be good or that could be bad. Little hack this morning we're all reading about. Facebook, 533 million accounts. Okay. You telling me that there wasn't some escalation of privilege to ensure that that information was not only extracted, but then exfiltrated? I'm sure. And then there's the periodic access reviews, which is what most people we talk to is their day jobs, right? So let's walk through these 3 steps, Austin. First, the access request approvals, just to map it into our wonderful NIST platforms, the cybersecurity platform 853 Rev 5, PRAC-1, and that's mapped then into your relevant compliances, be it HIPAA, high trust, PCI, etc. It says access request approvals. You are following best practices when you implement what Craig was talking about, and then what Cher said the product does. That is quantifying the request, getting access approvals, and then documenting the actual change in permissions. Next, escalation triggers. I think this is actually one of the coolest and biggest things about differentiating about the YouAttest product. It's not only doing what I say is in the first you have your pre, which is access request, and then you have your dynamic. That's what this is. This is dynamic. This is saying when someone is added to the security group, someone is added to the group that gets Workday, someone is added to the group that gets Workday, or Jira or whatever. Okay, what was that? And on, you know how it is, 3 months after when the auditor goes, on, Garrett, on February 14th, Tuesday, 3:30 p.m., this person was added. Okay, why? That's what this helps you do. Not only does it help secure your system by ensuring that someone approved that change, but it also documents that process. Next. User access reviews. This was our first product. This is what we came out of the gate because this is what people asked us to build. And this is your periodic access reviews. What I do want to stress here is, yes, this is mandated in all your compliances. And what's really relevant, the real story here is that most of our customers prior to using the YouAttest tool are doing this in the manual process. And that's very expensive. We have great TCO materials, which we've created for the purpose of helping you, the internal audit or the internal IT risk and compliance officer, to justify a product like YouAttest. That is, we break down how much this is costing you to do this in a manual process, and then show you how much time and then FTE costs you are saving doing this through YouAttest. Lastly, let me just sum up the product. Our cloud product, YouAttest, is 100% cloud. It's got some big differentiators because everyone that we talked to, they know they have to do this. Garrett, thanks for reminding me. Thanks for quantifying the 3 steps in identity governance. Thanks for building a product that does this. But there are products that do that. Yeah, there are. And a lot of them are on-premise based, and a lot of them take a lot of effort to implement. What we did is chose first the best SSO platform out there, the Okta platform, and has the best APIs. And we wrote into Okta to obtain the relevant information for IGA, and therefore we deploy in minutes. That's not a brag. That's actual fact. We deploy in minutes. Why? Because we're pretty good at SSO. And our company that we work with, Okta, is the best at SSO. And they wrote not only their SSO into the endpoint applications, your Jira, your Workday, your Salesforce, but they also built really good hooks into products like YouAttest to hook into your tenant securely using either OIDC or SAML. And just to let you all know, we have this hosted both in the US and in the EU for our GDPR necessary clients. Great. Take it away, Austin, with the demo.
Excellent. Thank you, Garrett. So let's just jump on over to a quick demo, and we're going to talk about what was listed out in step 1 first, and that's the actual access review. So first, all I have to do is just log into my YouAttest account. So let's do that right here. And once we're signed in, I'll go over to our main newest feature, the actual access request. So what I'll be walking through is pretty exciting. Craig was talking about the importance of having a good workflow, but also the ability to be able to capture this. And so from the start, let's just go with the setup. So here in settings, if you want to set up the workflows, it's very intuitive. Simply just go to workflow right here and add new workflow. From this point, you'll just name this. So this is specifically, maybe you want this to go to a certain application or a certain user. We'll just name this right here. And then who do we want this to be sent to? So if someone's requesting access to a specific application, who do we want to have review this? A business owner, resource owner, user, group? Well, you could select business owner here. And then right here, if you want, you could also add resource owner. You could leave this as or. So if one approves, the other doesn't have to. If one rejects, the other doesn't have to. And you could also add this, make it and. So now both have to approve. And if there's a conflict, they'll be notified. You could also add more rules. If you want a specific user inside Okta to review this, no problem at all. Or if you want a specific group to review it, that could be possible as well. All you have to do is search for the Okta user or the Okta group. We'll keep this simple and just have business owner and resource owner. Next, once we've created this, we want to start defining what happens. So we could actually have implement changes instantly. So if these two users approve access, the user could be granted instant access to the application or group that they're requesting to be a part of. Finally, we could go to the next two areas regarding emails. And so we could have an email sending out a finalized report, exactly what Craig, Garrett, and Cher were really stressing, that now someone's been added, someone has been reviewed. We are sending this report that's capturing what actually took place. So you're quantifying these changes, you're quantifying what's taking place, and you're having a really detailed system of records. Right now you could save that, and you could say, yes, on this date, this individual request access to this application. These were the people who reviewed it. This was the action taking place. And then finally over here, we could have send reminder emails to approvers. Now, if you're in IT, you don't have to worry about constantly trying to get someone's attention to actually address something. You have the ability to have a reminder email sent out depending on how pushy you want to be. You have this go out every single day if you'd like. So that is actually how you set up the workflow to begin. Now, once we go back over here, we can define our resource managers. So these are our applications and these are our groups. If we go into an application, I'll just go right here and edit this one. You can see it's fairly easy to add additional applications and then assign a workflow to it. These are the workflows we've created in the past. These are the applications we want those workflows associated with. And then this is the resource owner we want responsible for. So very easy to type it in, very easy to make adjustments, to go in there, change the applications. You can even have it set up for all applications as well. So once this has been defined, you have your resource owner, you have your workflow. What does this look like? Well, say we wanted to add a new request. Let's add someone to these applications right here. So we want to request this access right there. We'll simply want to add a user, or you could even add yourself if you'd like. So adding a user is simple. All you have to do, well, just copy the end of the email there. All you have to do is add the email address you're looking for, select it. You can add in a description and then just hit submit request. And so what this is going to look like, once we go over to the approval queue, you can see this will be one that is approved. This is someone who's rejected. And then over here, these will be people who are pending. So it's very easy to see who hasn't been approved yet, who is still waiting on their manager, who is still waiting on the actual reviewer, and to go through and have a really accurate set of logs for these changes that are taking place. Lastly, jumping outside of the actual access request, Garrett was talking about the two other parts of the pillar. He was saying that we have the ability to capture changes and the ability to do just simple access reviews. This is more than possible in YouAttest. We have our event trigger system, which is extremely easy. Just like this, you create the conditions, you say what your parameters are, what applications, what groups you want to monitor, and it's extremely straightforward who you want to assign that to. It's also going to create reports, depending on how you want that set up, that are going to say what changes took place. And finally, we have a lot of different types of access reviews you could create. You could do access reviews based on the user. You could do access reviews based on the group or an application. It's pretty straightforward and simple. In the interest of everyone's time, instead of going into that, I'll hold that off. But if you'd like to see any of those three types of forms of governance, you could feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to set up a demo. That being said, I'll jump back over and let's go into some questions.
Yeah, well, we take the questions and we'll wrap this up. Fantastic.
Excellent. Okay, Craig, since you joined here, let's send over the first question to you. So I want to make sure that you hear this, but it looks like someone wrote in and said, in healthcare groups, what regulations does access request approval fall under?
Yeah, so for healthcare specific, I know that High Trust requires it. Section 01.e review of access rights, and I know for sure this was covered in version 9.1 through 9.4, even the most current version. And I apologize, I don't remember exactly what the latest version is, but they seem to change it all the time. But they are specifically looking for regular review of access rights as well as ISO. They're wanting you to make sure that you review those at regular intervals. The other one that I didn't list, and I probably should have listed, is SOX controls. They want to make sure that you know about these, and I oftentimes don't even think regular reviews are enough. It almost needs to be instant. You almost need to get an alert immediately. Again, sorry, SOX is a little bit out of scope for healthcare, but may apply to healthcare companies that are publicly traded.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Craig. So we had another question come in, and I think I might want to direct this one to Cher. So the question is, does it support a RESTful API for integrations? Cher, do you mind taking that one?
Yes, so right now we are looking into the integration with the Jira and ServiceNow. But that is something that we are currently looking into, and how this will be embedded and integrated with our current architecture. But we are looking into this thing right now and see to how things can go from there. But this is something that we are currently looking into, yeah.
Yeah, and whoever asked the questions, if you'd like to reach out to us, let's schedule a meeting and understand exactly how you would want your REST calls into our system and where they'd come from and what would be the exact calls, because that certainly is doable in the future.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you guys. So then Garrett, we'll stick this one with you. It is, who would manage this type of solution that YouAttest showed?
Yeah, I'll give you the experience of what our customers usually managing. The actual integration of the system usually falls within the traditional IT group that is administering and overviewing and handling the Okta tenant. Now, the actual implementation and the work through, especially the attestations, the receiving notices on the escalation triggers, and the periodic reviews usually falls under compliance. But the actual implementation and the initial admin is set up usually by the IT group.
Thank you so much. All right. Craig, would you mind answering this? So it's without a system like this, how do you keep records of approvals?
Good old-fashioned spreadsheets are one way. I've done it by comparing PDF reports that are spit out by Active Directory or screen captures from application systems, and then that information literally gets put into a report and dumped into another location, like maybe SharePoint, or uploaded to ServiceNow. There's other ways of doing it, but they've been very kludgy. There's a lot of manual work that has to go into it.
Yeah, and that's why we have a TCO tool that can help show how much that is costing the enterprise and how much you can save with the YouAttest license. Good question.
Cher, you pretty much answered this one, but I think it's important to touch on again. So we have another question coming in around kind of Jira. So it's, we have Jira. Could YouAttest create a Jira ticket from this?
No, right now, as I mentioned, no, not right now, but we are looking into how to have this integrated and have a service ticket opened against an access request. So that is something that we are currently looking into, and we'll have something for you in some time. But right now, there's something that we're currently looking into, and yeah.
Yeah, just write us and we'll take the requirements and get it into the product. Thanks.
Exactly. And I wanted to save this one question for last because I think it's just important to touch on. Someone wrote in asking if we could explain the licensing, if there's multiple SKUs for the different products. We touched on 3 different things that we could cover. The quick answer is there's one price for all 3 of these products. So although it's, access reviews, access requests, and triggers, that's all included, and it's $2 a user per month. It scales down from there.
That's it. So $2 per user a month gives you all that functionality. Gets you the access request, gets you to the triggers, and the periodic access reviews. So there it is, all bundled in one SKU, one low cost, and it's much less in quantity. So write us and we'll get you this cloud IGA solution implemented in your enterprise. All the best. And Craig, once again, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your input and your expertise.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
All the best.
Thank you so much.